Okay, it's 8 a.m. I'll call the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District meeting to order. Let's see. Virtually, we have Commissioner Bookland and then the Executive Director, Eric Dundee. And Ezra Meyer is supposed to be joining virtually as well, but he's not on yet. And then the rest of us are all in person, so we do have a full, except for Ezra right now, we have every commission member present. But Ezra's supposed to go up. Okay, welcome to all of our guests. You want to go through the guidance for the virtual meeting, please, Cassie?
Good morning, Commissioners, members of the public, and staff. To help us have a smooth meeting, I'm going to review just a few decorum rules for all. While the Commission and staff are in person, we are still offering a Zoom option so members of the public can attend. If you're attending virtually and would like to speak, you can do so during appearances by the public. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on YouTube, and the public chat has been disabled, but you can still send messages to the host if need be. Finally, Commissioners, please use your microphones while speaking and make sure your voice is directed towards the mic. When you are not speaking, please ensure your mic is turned off so others can utilize the mics. As a reminder, only 3 of the table mics can be live at a time. Also, please state your name before speaking for those who may be joining us via Zoom. Those are the decorum rules of the District Commission. Thank you for following them, and let's have a great meeting.
President Hubble, Commissioner Meyer is on now.
Okay, thank you. So we have everybody here. Okay, so any announcements? Thank you, Cassie. Any announcements? No announcements. Any appearances by the public? Look here. No hands. Okay, we'll move on. So we have the consent calendar, excuse me, where we have the minutes of the 16th meeting, cash statement operating, and then we have expedited boundary annexation up in the DeForest area. And we have review and approval of sanitary sewer extension plans for some work projects going on in the Kaganza Sanitary District, number 1. And then approved transaction amount and professional services agreement for Southeast Interceptor relocation at the Yahara River. Do we have a motion or any questions on any of the items? Okay. Dan.
I'll be abstaining from the Dunn Sanitary District number 1 vote, since I am a part of that.
Okay. Okay, so seeing no questions, we have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Commissioner Clark, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Clark, second by
Commissioner Freeze.
Second by Commissioner Freeze. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, and then please record that Commissioner Paltz recused himself on item D. So that takes us to topics. First is the review and adoption of the 26 operating capital projects and debt service budgets. Bill, you have anything to say?
I do have a few things. Bill Walker, Deputy Executive Director. Let's wait a moment while I try to get the slides to move. There we go. So these comments that I'm going to make, very brief. They're not actually really addressed to the commissioners. They're addressed to anyone who is joining us for the first time in the budget process, either now or watching this later on in the future. And the point I want to make is the Commission is going to adopt the budget today with what will seem like very little discussion. And as Commissioner Meyer suggested, perhaps it would be good to recap all of the work that led up to this point. And that work is on this slide, and I just remembered that this is one at a time. We started way back in May with information on the capital improvement plan, provided details for communities and commissioners. There was a listening session with the Commission and certain community representatives in June, preview for communities in August, a forecast of service charges to communities, public hearing on the 25th, comments received by the 10th, deliberation by the Commission, that's when most of the Commission discussion happened, and then today, adoption. And along the way, we had a variety of emails provided to communities, additional information to commissioners on position needs and organizational alignment, and so on. And of course, Eric met extensively with customer communities, particularly early on. And that's that. A lot of work leading up to this point, and the action today is to adopt the budget.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Do we have a motion to approve the operating capital projects and debt service budgets, and there is a resolution with it, but I remember.
Commissioner Meyer, I'm happy to make the motion.
It's up there. Okay, yes, resolution 2025-1030R5. The motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by,
Second. Commissioner Lankella?
okay, motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Lankella. Any discussion? Anybody have any discussion? This is what was spent over an hour on, last meeting doing, so. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Ezra, did I hear you?
I said aye.
Okay, sorry. Okay, motion carries. The budget's approved. Then we have the 2026 service charge rates and septage disposal rates. Bill?
Bill Walker, do have more to say about this one. The action here is for the commission to adopt both service charge and septage rates for 2026. I will talk about what each of those are and then present both sets of rates for adoption at the same time. In the past, those of you who have been on the commission for a while, we, dating back to my predecessor, Jeff Brockdrup, tried to explain this in terms of the mathematics behind the rates. And when Ben Narad was budget officer, we continued trying to do that, simplifying a little bit. Some feedback from one of my staff members, Seth McClure. I decided that this year that's actually not very useful. One, because it's extremely difficult to explain the mathematics of these rates in a few minutes. I'll be honest, it took me about 6 hours to understand the rate model this year, doing it for the first time by myself. You don't want to go through that. But more importantly, the math is not what's important. What's important is that these rates are following the requirements that are set out in the sewer use ordinance and in state law. So that is what I'm going to focus on here today. But first, some basics on service charges. They are our number one source of revenue, 95% in the 2026 budget. They are paid by communities, by municipalities, which we currently have 24, who then pass those costs on to households and industrial users, and each community has different ways of doing that. But this is the oft-repeated point that we are a wholesale utility. Our customers are other governments, municipalities like ourselves. They are retail utilities. Their customers are individuals and businesses. The sewer use ordinance puts out requirements for rate setting in great detail. We talk about those here. So the first requirement, rates need to be based on costs, split out into two categories: costs related to the operating budget and costs related to the capital program, so the debt and capital projects budget. Two different sections specifying that requirement. There is some inside baseball historical reason for that, having to do with a PSC rate letter, I think as old as 50 years ago, with how we treat debt in certain elements of our rates. But that is all reflected in the sewer use ordinance. And the way we achieve this is we have this model I alluded to earlier, which takes as an input budgetary information in those categories and uses it in the subsequent calculations. Ordinance requires the Commission to review those rates annually and specifically to review them to make sure that those rates generate sufficient revenue for the district. And reviewing them annually is what you are doing today. This set of sentence fragments with ellipses in between is all of the math that I am not going through today. The model sets those rates based on costs and projected flows and loadings, the parameter forecast listed there, so that revenue is generated to meet what our needs are. That's what that model is for. So that's how we're complying with that requirement. The ordinance names those 7 billing parameters. I'll talk about the parameters here in a second. And the model uses those parameters, and the bills that we send out, including one that is on for reports today, use those parameters. And quarterly billing is also specified in the ordinance. Talk a little bit more about those parameters. I'm going to list these because I want to make a general point about why these were chosen so long ago. The first parameter is the volume of wastewater. We measure on a quarterly basis the amount of wastewater sent to us by communities individually. A great deal of work goes into that by collection system services out there in the field, collecting this data for us. That's a pure volume measure. There are 4 pollutant measures, one for oxygen demand, solids, nitrogen, and phosphorus. The collection system services collects samples for that data. The lab analyzes them for us quarterly. Again, a lot of work there. The plant does a lot of very useful things, but these were chosen because they are kind of, I'm not a wastewater engineer, but sort of the big 4 pollutants that a plant like ours is addressing. And then the 2 other parameters in the ordinance are, you can loosely think of them as measures of the size of the utilities that we serve. So the number of water meters that each customer community has, that word equivalent there is referring to the fact that meters come in different sizes, so they're normalized, standardized to a single size. I think it's 5/8 inches, but don't quote me. And then the number of customers of each community. Those parameters are serving as sort of a stabilizing function. They don't change very often. And the point I want to make about these, there are 7 because together they provide a very broad assessment of the use that communities are making of our system. If, for instance, you only had wastewater volume, you would miss the impact of communities that have a lot of industrial users who tend to send more of those pollutants listed. If you only used a measure of customers or meters, you would miss the fact that some communities send more wastewater volume than others, typically from inflow and infiltration. We set rates, but what communities are really interested in is what their actual bills will be. So to help them out with that, we provide some forecast information. This is just a snippet from the larger set in your packet. What we have provided here is a high-low forecast. We want to give communities a sense of the likely range of their bills. And of course, we don't know exactly what their bills will be because we don't know what volume of wastewater or what amount of pollutants they will be sending us during the year. We have to measure that as the year proceeds. These numbers are based generally on historical trends for each community and for the district overall, and that range is roughly an 80% confidence interval. I won't go into the statistics there. To repeat a point, we're helping communities think about the uncertainty in their forecasts and helping them plan. We do make a note for them that if communities have particular information about their situation, either in terms of flows and loadings or their own budgeting practices or their financial management practices, they should take that into consideration. We sent a preliminary forecast in September when we introduced the budget. We'll send a final one after today with budget adoption, and you can see the full table in your packet. So that was service charges. Septage rates are simpler. They are not the biggest source of revenue in the district, only about 2%, and they are paid by haulers, the various trucks that you see coming to the plant of different types of waste. The sewer use ordinance does have something to say about septage rates, but not very much. Most of the governing law is in Chapter 281. There are a lot of words in 281. I'm going to simplify it down here. The number one requirement, the main requirement, is that septage rates must be based on actual costs. And Chapter 281 says a lot about what costs can be considered. Our rates meet that requirement by being based on service charges themselves. And you'll recall that service charges are based on costs. So we are building cost information into septage rates via that sort of two-step process. Now, this is my opportunity to anticipate and perhaps head off an annual comment by President Hubble, which is Chapter 281 lists other things that you can consider. So, for instance, if you have specific construction projects or facilities only serving septage haulers, you can build those costs in as well. And particularly if we end up updating or moving headworks, I think that would be an appropriate moment to take a look at whether we need to build those costs in. This is something I've put on the task list for the new finance manager. By the way, thank you for approving the budget with that position in there. This person is already busy and they're not here yet. So that's an important thing to take a look at, and I'll ask them to review if we are fully capturing costs of service for septage. The other requirement is purely procedural. We have to give 60 days notice before we implement that fee. And you see that fact reflected in the CAR in our annual practice. We want to get these rates adopted today so that we can start on January 1st. We don't have to start on January 1st, but that timing is built in there. And that's septage. So here is the service charge rate table. I am well aware that these numbers mean nothing by themselves to you, but I can repeat the point that they are derived from a model that meets the requirements of the sewer use ordinance, and similarly for the different rates for the different types of waste that come in. These rates reflect the requirements of 281 and actual costs. Questions, or go right ahead to adoption?
Okay, I've got a question on this, but first we have to back up. The budget apparently requires a roll call vote. So we have a motion by Commissioner Meyer, seconded by Commissioner Lankala, for approval of the operating capital projects and debt service budgets. And so we need to do the roll call vote. Cassie?
Commissioner Bookland,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeze,
Aye.
Commissioner Hovell,
Aye.
Commissioner Lankella,
Aye.
Commissioner Lytle,
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Pultz.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you for that notification. I was thinking about that, but then I thought, oh, I thought it was only debt service or debt, taking on debt, but, okay. So, that goes to the septage and the service charge rates. I have a question. So you had that table of the parameters for septage. The one before, yeah. We've got volume CB. How often do we test the septage? Oh, that's service charge rates. That one, right. Do they all get mixed together, or how do you know that, when a tanker pulls in, not a combination of grease, septic, and holding and everything else?
Good morning. Marty Griffin, Director of Ecosystem Services. So the question was, how do we test for these different line items when we get mixed loads? Yes, we do get mixed loads, but the septage haulers are required to log where they pick up the waste. And when they come, they know the different volumes of the mixed load, and they record them separately. When it comes to testing to get information about these parameters, they just don't test the mixed loads. We make sure they test the individual loads. So that's how we work it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions on the service or the septage rates? Okay, we have a motion to approve the service charge and septage rates, and this does not need no crow. Yep. Okay.
Commissioner Lytle, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Lytle to approve the septage and the service charge rates, which is 2025-10-30 R6. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Lankella, second.
Commissioner Lankella, seconds. Any further discussion or questions? Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving 2025-1030R6, the service charge and substance disposal rates for 2026, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carries. Okay, that takes us to the connection charge rates. Kurt?
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Sauser, Engineering Technician, and I'm here today to present on the review and adoption of 2026 connection charge rates. So, as many of you know, new customers, when they connect to our system, they need to pay connection charges to buy into the infrastructure that our district has already invested in. So these are split into two different items. The first is conveyance facility connection charges, which is essentially the collection system out throughout the district. So that's pipes, pump stations, and associated infrastructure. There are 32 separate basins throughout the district, 32 rates that we track, and these are adjusted annually by the Engineering News Record Construction Cost Index, and we track that value annually, and the increase from 25 to 26 is an increase of 2.5%. So these are the 32 different basins that we track, and you can see up on the north side there are two basins that are outlined in green. These are Northeast Interceptor basins, and these are getting an additional adjustment of $2.14. Pump stations 13 and 14 recently went through improvement projects that increased their capacity, and those two basins are have additional horsepower now to send wastewater back to the plant, and so those two basins are getting an additional adjustment. So the second rate that we're looking at is treatment plant connection charges, and this is one value that's district-wide, and it is reflective of the value of the plant itself. And so for redevelopment projects, or everybody, all new connections pay conveyance facility and treatment plant connection charges, but redevelopment projects, say if a couple of houses get knocked down in downtown Madison and they build a 13-story high-rise, we look at the significant increase in sanitary flows, and so new customers would then, or that redevelopment would then pay treatment plant connection charges. So that's how that rate is administered. And 2026 is the final year of an 8-year phase-in of the full rate. So we had a new methodology that we started implementing in 2019, and the commission elected to phase that full rate in over 8 years, and then so this beginning January 1st will be be reflective of the full rate of the full value of the treatment plant itself. And you can see that this graph shows the red line shows the 8-year phase-in and the rates that we charged. The green line is if we would have not had the 8-year phase-in, that's what the rate would have looked like beginning in 2019. And this is the rate table that we share with all customers, and showing the conveyance facility rate and the treatment plant rate for all 32 basins, and what we would recommend for approval. Any questions?
Okay, anybody have any questions? Patrick?
Thank you. I was just needing a reminder, the phase-in graph that you showed. Did something specific happen in 2019 in terms of reevaluating the operating costs here at the plant, and we didn't want to create a huge increase that year? And then what do we have
to look forward to in terms of 27 on, do we expect a rate extrapolation, or are we going to be doing another reevaluation?
So I guess I would, if you look at the slope of the green line, I think that would maybe predict what we are looking forward to in 2027. Probably another increase, but not nearly as steep of a slope as what the red line reflects. And in 2019, I think the commission got feedback from customers and the development community, and I think swallowing that entire rate in that 1 year was a bit much for everybody to take. And I think the commission deliberated and decided an 8-year phase-in would be the best approach. And here we are at year 8 to bring that to a close. So
I guess I'd just follow up by saying it seems like the area under the green curve between the green and the red, then, we were still allocating some costs to flow and loading as opposed to, we have to recover those costs one way or the other. So it's encouraging to see that now, at least from where we believe things stand in terms of cost of service, that the connection charges and the flow and loading charges are going to be pretty much on parity.
Yeah, so these connection charges they go directly into the capital fund reserve, and I think if those funds would be used to offset financing for construction projects. So yes, not really tied to flows and loadings, but yes, I guess it does. It all benefits the district itself.
So the district ate that difference between the red and the green line. And so when they were complaining about rate increases, part of the rate increase over the past several years was to accommodate lower treatment plant connection charge.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't collecting what we could have been collecting. Not a significant amount, probably. I've got a question. So now with the liquid processing improvements, what point do those enter into the treatment? Because some of those will affect the treatment plant connection charges. Do you wait till the project's completely done, or you do it based on each phase, or?
So at the I get a value from our accounting department on January 1st. I can ask them what was the value of the treatment plant on as of December 31st, and so that they'll have to tally all the new assets that have been commissioned, and then also look at assets that have been retired. And so our accounting department does have a value of the treatment plant, and that's what that rate is determined by.
Okay. Do you know the value?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
Okay. I'm just curious what the cost to replace.
Can I pick up on that with just a quick added question? Just thinking about Commissioner Lytle's question. So if we want to understand the slope of the line as it goes forward year by year, Kurt, it's driven by two things: investments in our treatment plant. I'm thinking about the treatment side here. Investments in the treatment plant and engineering news record inflation estimates. Am I right? Those are the two main drivers?
Yes, both of those are factors in the slope of that line. Correct.
That's helpful to understand. Thank you. And I'll just chime in because Tom and I are the only ones. There's some people on staff, I think, but not many around all the way back to 2018. But we did make a compromise to not burden the developers. It's hard for me to say those words, but too much with this massive sort of instantaneous increase in the rates, right? And so we decided to do it slowly over whatever it is, 8 years. It's nice to finally be done with that ramp up and to be at the place where, kind of as Patrick said, we're assessing full cost, into these rates and really recovering from, arguably, I think on a policy level, the right folks to be carrying the burden of helping with the capital capital side of what we do. So a little hat tip to former Commissioner John Hendrick, who really felt strongly that we needed to do this and fix the way that it worked way back in 2017, 18. And here we are kind of finally coming to fruition.
Thanks, Ezra. Greg?
Kurt, just following up on both of that and what Patrick asked. I was in the room when this happened back then, but I was not, I'll be honest, paying as much attention as I possibly could have been because I was not at the table. What was the impetus for reevaluating so back in 2017, what made us look at that big jump? I can't recall.
I could probably defer to.
I'm trying to
Commissioner Hummel.
remember. I think we had the treatment plant connection chart, but I think it wasn't properly representative of value of what we should be collecting. And so it was reevaluated, and they found that there would be this significant jump. That's how poorly it was originally calculated, I guess is the best term to use. Brad, Bill, and then Brad.
A little context. This project started shortly before I joined the district. My understanding is that so first of all, the district reviewed the entire connection charges program in 2015, 2016, 2017. And one of the drivers of that review, well, actually, let me back up even further. It's important to understand the purpose of the connection charges program. We spend a bunch of money to build infrastructure, and we have to build that before the people who will be served by it are there. We have to spend in advance. And then we try to recover the cost of that infrastructure from the people who will eventually use it. So connection charges are a cost recovery mechanism. And the reason to reevaluate them back in 2017 was a sense that they were being calculated in a way that was not accurately reflecting what we had spent to construct that infrastructure. So that was the goal, to make sure that rates are set in a way that lines up with the actual cost of infrastructure. I don't know why they weren't aligned before that, but the point is they were not. And so that jump there is the magnitude of the correction factor on the treatment plant calculation.
Ben?
Commissioner Clark, Kurt, not sure I heard the answer to this or not. Is the value of the treatment plant based on replacement cost, from accounting?
I believe I would say yes. I think every asset. I know there is a spreadsheet that dates back to the inception of the plant itself in 1930, and I think every asset in there has a value and has been appreciated using that construction cost index. So I think that value, the best that we can determine, it is the replacement value. Value.
Thank you.
So Eric did send me a message back in April of 2025, so earlier this year, the value of the plant itself was $490 million. That spreadsheet from accounting.
Go ahead.
Bill Walker again. So 2 comments. That the methodology that is used back in 2015-16, the district hired a consulting firm. I believe it was Baker Tilly, but don't quote me on that specializes in utility finance. And the task for them was to come up with a method that is a reasonable way to assess cost of infrastructure. And the method we're using is the one that they came up with. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, the number that we get from accounting, don't allow yourself to believe that if this plant vanished, that's what it would cost to replace it, because the world is different. So when we talk about the cost of actually rebuilding this place, we tend to put another 0 on that number. This is a sort of an accounting methodology to reflect what has been spent to this point to build this infrastructure, which goes back to the purpose of connection charges being cost recovery.
Ben?
Commissioner Clark, my guess is an insurance company could value an accurate replacement value cost to a secondary guess at that also. If they had to insure all the hard assets here. But I'm not saying we have to do that, I'm just stating the fact that I think we're all out, to get the right fair number for this charge.
Okay. I remember years ago hearing somebody say that the replacement value would be about $1 billion, but that was many years ago. So you're adding another zero. May make sense given how costs and labor have changed. I've got another question. It goes back to the interceptor connection charges. So for example, we're putting Badger Mill Creek, a lot of money into there, and I don't remember which line that is, number-wise. But that will then get added into next year, probably, when that project's done this year, or does it get added into this coming years? Because we're increasing that, spending a lot of money to put that new line in, including land acquisition.
So it's my understanding that the rate that was developed for the Badger Mill Creek, the Lower Badger Mill Creek, was it was developed before, I think it took all of the construction phases into account, before they were constructed. And so I think as each individual phase is actually put in the ground, I think that rate for the basin is already reflective of those costs.
Well, I think we should be looking at that again, because I think our land acquisition costs probably significantly higher than, and probably the construction costs too, than what was originally anticipated when they put that rate into effect. Oh, that was probably almost 20 years ago. So, Greg?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kurt, but Tom's bringing up a really good question. And, so this is very similar. The way you calculate these is very similar to the way we would do city and impact fee. So once upon a time, which might be years before all the infrastructure inside that impact fee area is built, we estimate the cost. But we all know, right, in the last 5 years, costs have skyrocketed compared to what they were pre-pandemic. And so for our impact fees, we have to actually, if we want to amend that, we have to go back in and reopen the impact fee to change our rates effectively. You don't have to do that, right? So I agree with Tom in light of the fact that, the Badger Mill, and I'm sure there are more, right, we're all created and did essentially the same thing an impact fee does, estimate your costs at the time of creation. Those costs that assumed what I would call static normalcy, right, which is not what has occurred, right, in the last, So I would agree. I think those should be looked at.
Dan?
Commissioner Paul, the same thing that you're talking about, Tom. I think you need to take and weight history versus future, because replace a piece of metal today or steel is 4 times more than it was 10 years ago. I think the rates, you're getting the benefit of all cheap stuff from the past using historic costs. I don't know how to make the model or anything, but it's something that I think you have to think about.
Yeah, that's my point, that they're using the historic cost, which was originally calculated many years ago, that they took the whole line. We've done, this is like the 3rd or 4th phase. I believe that line came in shortly after we annexed Verona.
That was 1996 that Verona came into the district.
Right. So I think this line was about then 20 years ago, or almost 30. That the costs have changed significantly, as Greg and Dan point out. So I think and it's not just Badger Mill, it's all the others that, where we're doing improvements or capacity adjustments and things like that.
So, these 32 rates are based on our construction costs. So, I think, we're looking at, financial numbers that we can hold on to, and we're not projecting as to replacement costs as to what they could be. So,
but actual construction costs, because I understood you say earlier that they took an estimate of all construction costs back whenever they did it, say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and then they set the fee. But if we're not adjusting the fee, But does the ENR accurately reflect, wouldn't it accurately affect things like, land acquisition? You know, we're spending an awful lot of money on land acquisition because of the port. And does it accurately reflect increases that have occurred in construction? Yeah, I don't know if it does or not, just because it's an overall thing.
So this is Bill Walker again. So 2 points. The district spent 3 years back in 2015 reviewing its connection charges methodology, and that's the one we're applying. The Commission would like us to do that again. We could launch another project to do that after the ERP is done. I think the other point is I want to recap a little bit of what Kurt has presented, because I think some of the things that have been brought up are covered in what was already addressed. Rates are set. Rates are a cost recovery methodology. The whole point is, what did we actually spend to serve this region? Now you pay your share as you new development come online. So that's point number one. There's no forecasting going on about what things might cost later. What did we actually spend? When we do projects that increase capacity in a region, as happened in today's presentation, the upper right of that map, those additional costs are added to the rate to reflect the fact that we have spent additional money to serve that basin. So if we, and that is true for any projects that are underway, when those projects, or as Kurt said, phases of those projects are done, we incorporate the actual cost of that service into the rate for the applicable basin. And then this point about those costs were from a long time ago and inflation has changed. The method that the Commission adopted was to use this sort of ENR annual adjustment. So that is our best publicly available information to address the point that you're bringing up of costs have changed. We could use some other method. We could use one of the various consumer price index changes or some other engineering thing, or we could do an updated survey. Those would all be available. But we're applying the method that the Commission adopted back in 2017.
Greg?
Okay, so I just want to be clear, because what I heard was two different answers from you and Kurt. Okay, so what I heard Kurt say was the rate, because Tom asked about Badger Mill Creek when that rate was set, and Kurt indicated that they estimated all of the projects that were needed for that back in 1996 when they set that rate. You just said the rate is updated when they do a new project. So I know in the Badger Mill Creek, because I'm sitting on a meeting with Lisa next week, we're talking about, some pretty big movement of pipes, and it's going to be land acquisition. It's going to be a big project. It could be, blah, blah, blah. If the rate then gets redone to include those projects that are now done, then I'm solid. Then this is great. But if the rate stays static, which is what happens with an impact fee for me, then this is a different question.
I believe we're saying the same thing, Kurt and I, because, and again, I point to Kurt's earlier part of the presentation. We have a project serving the Northeast. We added those costs of that project to the rate, and we will do the same thing for every other project as it comes online.
Okay, Dan?
Final question. How do you figure out a denominator and a numerator to figure out what the rate is? I mean, it's gonna cost you $10 million to do this thing. How do you know what to charge a connection fee? Are you assuming that there's gonna be 10,000 connections or something? You have to have somebody must know that number, and how accurate is it, I guess? I mean, if they say they're gonna say up in this area they're gonna add 10,000 houses, and after 20 years there's only 5,000 houses, $10,000 or $5,000 worth of houses.
So we have the project costs and then divide that by the land area. So every project has a land area that a basin that we intend to serve, and so we look at each basin and divide that cost by the area. It could be could be 20 years, it could be, 50 plus years. I know we, on the Interstate 90, there's a crossing for the Gaston Road extension that the commission approved, and the district installed that sewer before I started. I think that was in the early 2000s, and I think we've yet to have any connections made to that particular sewer. So that's at least 20 years old with excuse me, for, oh, I'm sorry, Interstate 94, for the Gaston Road extension. So that crossed the interstate, and so yeah, we haven't recovered any of the connection charges for that particular interceptor yet.
Do you have a receivable for all this stuff that we're supposed to have never collected? I mean, when you figure it out, you're figuring out you're going to collect $10 million. Track of we've only collected $5 million, all this stuff.
No, we have not.
It'd be interesting to know that number.
Yeah, particularly because when a lot of these rates are set, you've now got detention ponds, retention ponds, and a lot of stuff like that where I don't know if they pay. They pay on green spaces and everything or not?
So lands that are public right-of-ways and environmental corridors are exempt.
Right, so environmental corridors are much more extensive than they used to be years ago. So we're probably eating a lot because, no, we're not?
So
let's go divide it over a smaller land area then.
As part of our connection charge, when we evaluated the connection charges in 2015, 2016, we looked at all the basins. We engaged CARPC about. We looked at historically, what were the environmental corridors, and we do see that they're getting larger in size. But we made a one-time adjustment to the conveyance facility rates to adjust that. We acknowledge that those environmental corridors are growing, and so the conveyance facility rates were bumped up accordingly.
I'm here to tell you, was in the planning field for over 30 years. Brad probably is longer. That I will tell you that what CARPC says and what the actual environmental corridors are typically much larger than what CARPC has mapped out, or even because developers are looking to put as much land in the environmental corridors as they can to avoid fees like that. So they put in every little retention pond, and
I also I think from a developer perspective though, those are also lands that they're not they can't sell, that they're not that they can't develop. They're not receiving any income on. So
I realize that, but the point is that if you estimate environmental corridors at 25% of the land area, and it actually ends up being 30%, there's that 5% discrepancy. I think that's what Dan's getting to with his question, is that areas that we didn't. So anyway, Patrick?
I was just going to suggest, since there is a fair bit of interest in at least quite a few commission members that weren't around in 2015 when this was reevaluated, might be something to kind of present on in a session in a future meeting, just to bring the rest of us up to speed.
I couldn't help but note that Bill's statement about the commission possibly wanting to reevaluate this was tied to the ERP, which I thought timing was interesting, which I can understand. I mean, you got to have the staff capacity to do the work, but it was very good discussion, and it raises a lot of questions that I might have, but hesitate to ask at this point. But very interesting discussion.
Beth, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if I could just sort of distill what I think I've heard from the discussion so far, I think that there's a lot of concern about the connection charge rates being enough at in today's world to really justify looking at them again. So I think that as a commission, I think that we need to relook at the service charge rates and how they're calculated, given the increase in costs, the increase in the need to, if we ever should have to replace anything, it's at least 10 times higher than what we've, been used to having charged. So I would agree that I would like to see at least some kind of a reevaluation of the charges and the rates and what they look like today, and see if we need to continue on the same kind of slope that we have seen over the last, period of time, or do we need to really have an increase? So I'm for relooking at these charge rates. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, thanks, Beth. I think we have two items. Patrick is basically, I think, requesting, which makes sense, a study session on how the rates work. So a little more detail than basically what we heard today. I think that's what Patrick was basically requesting. How are they calculated? And so we know they were calculated back around 2015, 2016. We kind of relooked at them, and we've had a lot happen since then. COVID, the world's changed. I think as Greg put a very valid thing, there was kind of this static normalcy that got upended in 2020. And we still haven't seen the world get back to that type of normalcy, because we're still hearing when you do construction projects about, what's that favorite phrase they use? Supply line. Yeah, the supply chain's all screwed up. So, we keep hearing that. So that gets to that reevaluation. So that, which is, their staff is suggesting, probably has to wait to after the ERP, which is 3 years away. But I think we could talk more about that if, some study session on the rates, and then, because reevaluating the rates every 10 to 15 years actually makes some sense. Make sure they're properly accounting for what's happening. So, anyway, any further discussion? We had a good discussion, and I think it's opened a lot of eyes.
Commissioner Meyer here. I'm a fan of the notion of doing a study session when it fits in for staff to give us a deeper dive on this. And we can come out of that deciding what we want to see from there, action wise, timeline wise, right? But I'm with Commissioner Lytle, I think, on that.
Okay, thanks, Ezra. So
I'm also happy to move the resolution here and deal with this on today's agenda. I'll make the motion to adopt resolution 2025-1034 R7.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Meyer to adopt R7. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Lankella.
Second by Commissioner Lankella. Any further discussion? Okay,
Thanks,
hearing
Kurt.
none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay, Kurt, you're up for the direct connection and annexation fees.
So, yes, Kurt Sauser, engineering technician, and this next item is review and adoption of 2026 plan review, direct connection, and annexation fees. So these are fees that were established, and so these are fees to recover costs for staff time, review, inspection, newspaper publication costs, and attorney fees. And these costs are reviewed periodically, typically every 3 to 5 years. And we did do a deep dive when we set these 2025 fees. So for 2026, we are recommending an adjustment of a 3% increase, which is the wage benefit increase that was just approved in the budget. So for these fees, so the top two lines are annexation fees. For a petitioned annexation, these are non-traditional annexations. Let me dive down into the second item, the lesser expensive one. The expedited annexations are presented by cities, villages, and town sanitary districts. These plans have already been included in the urban service area that have been approved by DNR, and these are kind of easy to approve without much deliberation. There's usually no conflict for those expedited annexations. The other line, the more expensive one, those are not cities, villages, or town sanitary districts. Right now, within our service area, we only have one customer that is not one of those entities, and that is the town of Westport. They have a sanitary utility district, which is different than a town sanitary district, and statutorily they don't meet that criteria. So that is the only customer that requires those more expensive annexations. Those require a public hearing, and we get Stafford involved for additional review, and there's newspaper publication costs, and so that is the more expensive annexation fee. The plan review fees are those are sewer extensions. So those are new sewers that are going in the ground, and anytime one of our customers extends their sanitary system, that's an average of all the staff time and additional costs involved to review those plans and route them through the commission process. And a direct connection fee, those are for we issue permits to our customers and developers who want to make a connection to our collection system. So when they connect to our manhole, we want to have a contractor. We want to issue a contractor a permit and make sure that they're when they punch a hole through our manhole, we have our crew go out there and look at it and make sure it's not leaking. And so we have our asset management team also is looking at this to collect all the details of that connection, when it happened, who the contractor was, and we make sure it's not leaking and it's a quality product. So so there's lots of inspection fees, I guess, that are associated with that direct connection fee that are incorporated there. So but these are the 2026 rates that we are recommending, and I recommend that the commission adopts Resolution R8 for approval.
Okay. Thanks, Kurt. Anybody have any questions or discussion? Dan?
Commissioner Pulse, the rates just seem really low to me. I don't like having high rates, but if you take that and I would think you would have at least, and if you have the attorney, that is not cheap, even though they're really good. But I mean, just figuring, like say the expedited one, it's only $1,300. Doesn't that take you more than 10 hours to do it? I mean, is there a time study done? It just seems really low. It just seems like to me they should be more 4,000 or 5,000 if you take time, overhead rate, and stuff like that. And then you have the attorney fees and you have newspaper and everything else involved. It just seems low.
So I guess with the annexations, the district is fortunate to have an in-house land surveyor to analyze a lot of the boundary issues, which is me. So I can after yes, I've seen I know our annexation boundary, and I'm able to work ahead with our municipalities when they want to when they present an annexation to us. It usually snaps right in place, and there's yes, it's an efficient process, I guess, that having a little going over these with our municipalities before they're actually presented. So yeah, I think there's just efficiencies with staff time and the system. So that these are actual costs that we've
just all the costs and overhead, just not money, if you want to call it. I mean, we're breaking even or a little bit of plus.
This is Vanessa Wishart, legal counsel. On the first category, the petition annexation rates, I will say too, while while legal review is required because those are not the expedited annexations, we have put in place a lot of streamlined processes for those annexations even. So from my perspective, while we have to look over and be involved somewhat in those annexations, it's not a significant amount of attorney time required.
Okay, thanks, Dan. That's a question I normally ask. They told me this year that they have truly analyzed their costs, and they've averaged it out. So, any further comments? Patrick?
Commissioner Lytle, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-1030-R8.
Do we have a second?
Murphy, I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Lytle, second by Commissioner Murphy to approve the resolution R8 for the plan review, direct connection, annexation fees. Any further comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? None, motion carries. Thank you. That will take us to the executive director update.
Thank you, Eric Dundee. I'm going to turn it over to Amanda to talk about our Clean Water Showcase.
Amanda Wagner, Communications and Public Affairs Director. I'm just going to give everyone a quick update. We had our Clean Water Showcase event this weekend. So it was a open house style public event. It was Friday evening, afternoon, 3 to 6, and then Saturday morning, 9:30 to 12. And it was really a lovely event. It was great success. I got a couple pictures here. I'm just going to kind of give you a high-level review of it. So we had about 400 people. We put it out as RSVPs appreciated, and we had 147. So to get 400 was amazing. We were hoping for 200 and got well beyond that. We had about 40 staff volunteers. So you see staff here. We had horse-drawn wagon mini tours of the plant that's down in the corner with Kathy Lake giving that tour. And just so many people were delighted to have the opportunity to step inside the fence and really thought, we got asked a lot like, how many times have you done this? And the answer is we haven't. But it was a really good response. People appreciated it. They learned a lot. We also had someone call Monday morning who had attended the event and just wanted to share that with everyone here. Basically just took the time to call and thank us for having a delightful event and was really impressed with the staff who were able to share their expertise and help educate the public on what we do here. So that was really lovely to receive that. This caller also says we hope to do it again next year. We are not making a commitment at this point. We still need to debrief this last event, but I do think we're certainly looking to the future and more opportunities to engage with the public and bring them inside and help them understand the important work that we do. So just a lot of fun. We do it again. When we do it again, I encourage you all to come out. It was just really lovely to have people here and get to experience the plant and interact with staff. So an update on Clean Water Showcase.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Anything else? Okay. Let's see, that takes us to the third quarter 2025 sewer service charges. No presentation, that was, okay, just report, right, we just went to that, yeah, used to act on them. Okay. So anybody, no report? Yeah. Committee reports. Ezra, on the performance review subcommittee?
Yeah, all I've got is that we are meeting soon here in the beginning-ish part of November to meet the firm we're going to be going with for helping us review the policy and the procedure we use for annual executive director performance review. So that that'll be nice for the subcommittee to meet the folks who are on board now to do that work, kind of get it launched and kicked off, and then they'll spend at least, almost a year or up to a year, helping us to craft something for the midpoint of next year when we do the main part of that process. And then there's a possibility in that contract for them to help us run it in out years after that at our discretion. So, be nice to kick it off here real soon.
Okay, thanks, Ezra. And then we go to Finance Committee, which is taking on an awful lot more than I think we ever anticipated. And Patrick wanted to thank Ken for offering to help. So Greg, and then Ken can have his rebuttal.
I've been set up on this one. To clarify, I would be in support of getting some outside assistance for the subcommittee if they felt that was a good idea, but it's certainly not this commissioner.
So that makes sense. So Greg, if, I think if you guys do need some assistance, let us know, and there'd be, because I think we were all understanding that you're probably taking on more than what the original charge was.
Yes, that is certainly true. A couple good things. We have landed on the fiscal part of the commission action reports that are put together for us now. That is a done deal, pretty much. So that's largely Bill's work in terms of creating. There's some stuff behind the scenes that Bill's going to look into yet, but the actual format of what we are going to see should be pretty standard for fiscal stuff that comes to the commission now. Did I miss something, Bill? Do you want to say? Nope. Okay. And then we also, I think, have largely come up with what we are going to like to see on a quarterly basis in terms of, I'll call it a state of the district financial report on a quarterly basis, and that is, at least as proposed, will come to the subcommittee for review. And then in terms of what we're doing next, both Daniel and Patrick have offered to do some work before our next meeting, and we are cutting down a little bit. Our meetings were an hour and a half to 2 hours every weeks. We were willing to do that, but Bill, had limits on his time, so we're only going to go an hour now. Bill has a meeting that conflicts on the new fiscal management, and that is what we really want. So we thought it would be good to defer that our meeting a bit. So, but we are working, and I greatly appreciate Dan and Patrick's help.
Okay, thanks, Greg. And let us know if you think you need any outside assistance. Okay. Operations report, Alan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alan Grooms, Operations Manager for the district. I'll be presenting the October operations report. I think we go. Is that the first slide? Okay. Might not have been the order I was thinking. All right. For the plant metrics for performance, the shaded portion there, just for a reminder, represents one standard deviation around the 3-year average. Standard deviation should capture, a single one should capture about 68%. So roughly, our performance in there would, if you'd expect about 2/3 of the time to fall within that shaded area. So most of them are pretty close to the shaded area. The suspended solids number is a little higher than we'd like to see, 7.6, and that phosphorus number comes up along with that at 0.48. We've been struggling a little bit with a little bit overall warmer temperatures, and we've got a number of other factors. We're struggling with a little bit with, so we're seeing some plant is demanding a little more attention in the respect of capturing solids and getting things to settle properly. So that's the short version of what's going on there. So those values have been a little bit higher than we'd like to see, and it's demanding a little bit more attention from us than we are typically giving it, but well within our permit numbers, and we think it's trending in the right direction currently. CBD 5, 3.3 milligrams per liter, right within the range we'd expect to see. Ammonia at 0.4, again, a very typical value for this time of year for us, and 341 on chloride is actually a little bit lower than we would typically see. We don't really control that value. That's whatever comes to us, whatever's dissolved, water softeners is the predominant baseline use for us. I typically say that might be a little more of dilution you're seeing from a higher flow, but I don't know that the flows in the month of September were necessarily what I would say high. So it may be just a normal little bit of movement about the mean. So, and then our fecal numbers, I talked a little bit about those numbers a couple months in the summer. Those had come up as we approached that 3-year, 4 years of operation with the UV system, kind of getting some experience with what degrading performance looks like as those components need to be replaced. So we made some adjustments there with that, and those numbers have come back down and continue to come down on our fecal coliform, so our disinfection numbers. So, any questions on the general plant performance metrics?
You mentioned about the solids. Will the liquid processing improvements help with that, or none of them slated to?
It's a question as whether the liquid processing improvements would help with the suspended solids. It's a good question. It's something we're really kind of looking at. We're really excited about the improvements we're going to get. It will allow the plant to take more loading. But there's a little bit of, some of our pilot data indicates that we may initially see the solids move slightly higher while the microbiology acclimates to that new environment. Basically, what we're doing is just we're applying selective pressures to a living system to get the kind of organisms we want. So we believe over time, when we start that up, it may transition slightly higher and then drop back into a number that's as good. We've even got some reason to think it could be better, but we aren't putting anything in like filtration or anything like that that would specifically address solids. So, but we certainly would like to hold the line on performance. That was probably a long-winded answer to your question, but sorry about that. For the general output metrics, clean water, which is what we've returned to the environment, 11.28 billion gallons so far through the end of September. That's on track to be at or a little higher than last year, so we'll see how the rest of the year goes, but it's pretty normal numbers. Similar with biogas, that looks like that may be trending about the same or a little higher than last year. And then the reused effluent, we're run on pace. That is our W4 that replaces, we use that instead of drinking water. That number actually looks like that may be project out higher than even last year. So that trend continues to go up as we find other uses for that. Any questions on these metrics? Biosolid storage at the end of September, we were 60.1% full in the tanks. The Metrico cake, we haven't made any since the beginning of the year, and we'll continue to, with the flow splitter project soon to wrap up, we'll be restored the ability to do that. We temporarily really can't even do it if we wanted to this summer. We'll get the ability to do that back, but our typical time for that is usually that winter time period. Struvite production numbers, we look like we may trend a little bit high this year, which is good. That represents the magnesium ammonium phosphate, or what we call struvite, exported off-site out of the watershed. And then our Metrico production looks like it's going to come in right around 40 million gallons, about the same as last year. The Metrico production is what we are sending to the tanks, not what's going to the fields. Those numbers might differ slightly depending on the season and the weather conditions. Any questions on these metrics?
Commissioner Meyer has his hand raised.
Thank you, Amanda. Thanks, Alan. Just a quick one to ground all of us in the seasonality of how the biosolids fluxes happen. We're at 60% in the tanks, but aren't we coming into a period here where we'll be doing quite a bit of running stuff out to the fields and bringing that number down in anticipation of building up stores over the winter? Do I have that about right? Or if I don't, set me straight. Thank you.
No, Commissioner Meyer, you're exactly right. I actually was resisting my urge to tell you the spoiler that we've hauled some out. So we're getting values through the end of September, and that haul out maybe started. It was a little bit delayed this year, so those numbers hadn't really started to drop. But October's been a great month. Metrico actually this week is kind of kind of in this mode where the tanks are virtually empty now, and so they really almost have to go a few days and then give it some time for us to make some more biosolids for them to take out. So we've kind of gotten to that point where they're just trying to keep them empty going into the winter. So good observation, Commissioner
Thank you.
Meyer.
I may have seen a couple of trucks on the Beltline over the weekend, which helped me to be primed for that question. Thank you.
What's the capacity of our tank?
Each tank is about 6.5 million gallons of biosolids. So we're required. Our design requirement is for 180 days storage on site. Oh. And as of this, 3 tanks. We have a spot that's kind of reserved for a 4th tank, but you're probably aware, or when I say it, you'll probably recall that we're starting a biosolids facilities plan to look at that, and that could be an option coming out of that, a recommendation to add a 4th tank and continue with this program, but it could also be that we decide that a different direction is the recommended path. So I do have a bonus slide this month.
Okay.
So, but it's not great. It's not great. So I did want to talk to the commission. We did have a small sewer system overflow. At least that's what we classified it, because it hadn't quite reached the treatment plant, even though it was on the treatment plant grounds. So this occurred at 4:35 p.m. on October 6th. Pump station 3 is in the. You can't really see it here. I've cropped it out of the picture on the right, but it's basically at the edge of what we refer to informally as the boneyard. It's a storage area, paved storage area on the corner of our site. And that small pump station, when we did the work to drain by pump station 2 force main for that repair, we were running flow the other way through that system for the other pump stations, for 4 and 2 and all these others were doing all that. Pump station 3 on the plant grounds is in the area that we needed to drain to fix the force main, and so we installed a temporary line, that white line on the left-hand picture, that basically bring that up directly to the treatment plant. It was about, I believe, about 700 to 800 feet of PVC line. It's a small force pump station, so that we had manned by staff the entire time we were doing this work. 4:35, the pump had kicked on. I didn't get the other circle on here, but about on the middle of that green pipe in the picture on the left, on the right-hand side, there is a joint, and that joint came apart when the pump came on. The staff right there, they were able to shut that pump down immediately, but whatever was in that line going uphill to that plant, to the plant, drained back through that line onto the ground. So they were right there, were able to stop the discharge right away and get cleanup. So that was accomplished very quickly. We estimated about 1,900 gallons of raw wastewater went out on that at that instance. So the contractor secured that pipe then a little bit better, and we didn't have any further issues with that. And that has been reported and received by DNR properly. So wanted to make the commission aware of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Regulatory and legal, Vanessa?
Good morning, Commissioners. Vanessa Wishart, Legal Counsel. So over the course of, I don't have any specific regulatory updates. We'll include another regulatory report in next 2 weeks meeting. But as far as work that we've done for the district over the last month, we've continued to work on reissuance of the district's WPDS permit with staff. We are working on a couple of small-ish contract matters that the district's engaged in, continuing to work on the condemnation proceedings, which are largely in kind of the discovery phase at this point, and continue to assist the district with Badger Mill Creek work. That's I think largely the work that we've done over the last month, but I'm happy to take any specific questions anyone might have.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thanks, Vanessa. Future meeting schedule. That's in the packet through the end of the year, so we're down to the last 3 meetings after this one meeting in December. I think it would be nice to know at the next meeting how many people are planning to attend virtually for the meeting that's the day before Thanksgiving. Amanda?
Just as a reminder for commissioners, we do have that, public affairs study session on December 11th, the morning of December 11th. So, technically 2 meetings, I guess, in December. It is a 7:30 start. I can send a reminder to everyone this week.
Okay, so, let's see, then we're gonna have the staff will put a study session on one of the available schedule for next year on the, conveyance and treatment plant connection charges and how they're calculated. And, okay, then, commission may convene, we do need a closed session, to confer with legal counsel per Wisconsin statute 19851G to, render oral or written advice concerning strategy with respect to Circuit Court Case Number 2024 CV 3109 and Court of Appeals Case Number 2025 AP 1725 City of Verona versus Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Commissioner Freeze, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Freeze, second by
Commissioner Clark, I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Clark to go into closed session in accordance with what was just read. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bookland,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Freeze,
Aye.
Commissioner Hobble,
Aye.
Commissioner Lankella, Commissioner Lytle,
will recuse myself from this vote and participating in the discussion.
Commissioner Meyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Polk.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We'll now move to the other room for Okay. Commission had a motion by Commissioner Murphy, second by Commissioner Clark, to move back into open session. We did a roll call vote. It was all ayes, of course, except for Commissioner Lytle, who had recused himself and left. And the commission was updated on the litigation that's ongoing with City of Verona on the Badger Mill Creek. The end of the report. Let's see, any future agenda topics? Nothing, other business? Ken?
Commissioner Clark, motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Clark, second by
Second, Commissioner
by
Freeze.
Commissioner Freeze to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none.
Take care, everyone.